He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
All right, welcome everyone to The Alex Marlow Show. Thanks for joining me today. Hope all of you had a terrific weekend. Mine was pretty good. Me and Snowflake, we put up the tree, the black elf on the shelf that I talked all about on the last show. It is not going to be a lot of small talk today. A really heavy news day, and I want to give you as much of it as I can in the amount of time that we spend together. Right now, we are dealing with a breaking news situation where there is a shooting at Wisconsin's Abundant Life Christian School. So at least 2 people are dead as we're having this conversation. I don't love to make a big deal about school shootings. I feel like the media is culpable in the amount of school shootings that we have. I think that the more we indulge them as a media apparatus, then the more likely they are to repeat themselves. They tend to come in waves. And this is not discussed enough amongst media people. But there is a level where things kind of hit critical mass and you have to talk about it. But this one I'm highlighting at the top of the show because a lot of my investigative reporting is gone into the city of Madison, which has been a hotbed of radicalism. And I covered this a lot a couple of years ago in 2022. But we're keeping track on all this at Breitbart News, and as well as trying to aggregate the most accurate local news reports that we're seeing. But it looks like at least 7 people were transported to medical facilities. So I think that this death toll is going to go up. But Madison left-wing militants have targeted Christians in particular. There's been a subject, a lot of my research. I did this series called The Summer of Rage in 2022. Those of you who follow the Marlow universe of investigative research, this will ring a bell to you. But I think it was ended up being like a 5 or 6 part series where I looked at a lot of the left-wing radicalism and violence that had popped up that I thought was normalized by the Kamala Harrises of the world after the 2020 Summer of Love riots. And my first piece was called Summer of Rage Part 1, Militant Pro-Abortion Radicals Flourish in Madison, Wisconsin. And then they would turn the violence into memes on Twitter. They basically would, when the X platform was called Twitter, they would encourage it online, and they would capture a lot of their violence, a lot of their vandalism, and a lot of it was abortion related. They, of course, call it reproductive rights related. But lots and lots of this radicalism was fomented in Madison, and it was taking place online. They were using it to try to gin up support. And this led to an increased level of violence, particularly at places like crisis pregnancy centers that spread throughout the country. But a lot of these left-wing organizers came from Madison, Wisconsin. And this is a historical thing, and I won't spend the full show doing this because we've linked this up at the front page at Breitbart.com. But a lot of these groups are well-funded. They're funded by people in the institutional left. They're tied to big-name people like people who are part of the Obama administration and ancillary groups that grew in power during the Obama administration. And Madison is to be watched. This is a very problematic place for those of you who desire a society of law and order. And thus, I bring it up and I connect it to this school shooting. Even though we don't know the motivations of the school shooters, it might just be a garden variety radical freak, as is so often the case with a lot of these shootings. But it seems very coincidental that it would be in Madison at a Christian school and have it not be somewhat related to this. So we will keep an eye on this as time goes on. We learn more about what's going on, but we got to be very careful about this because there are hotbeds of our society that have normalized and legitimized left-wing violence. So those are the exact people who I spent a lot of time researching, and it's scary. It's scary stuff. And I'll tell you that the left has this, they do harbor a celebration of their violent elements within their movement. I will tell you this, producer Misty found a pretty unbelievable video. This is from a club, apparently from over the weekend. I'm just going to play this. I'll describe the visuals for those of you listening on podcast. Check this out. So this is a club scene. There's a DJ throwing his arms up in the air. He's got a Christmas hat on. Looks like a Lakers jersey. And he's got a bunch of images in the background behind him of Luigi Mangione, who's the suspect in the cold-blooded slaying of the United Health CEO in broad daylight, or it wasn't broad daylight, it was in the dark, but it was just on the street in New York City in front of cameras. And it is one of these things where it's being celebrated. It's being celebrated in our in the left-wing quarters of our media. So that this is continuing, that this is going on, that it was noteworthy because I saw this kind of unbelievable take that appeared in the Daily Beast showing that Mangione's pathway to acquittal may hinge on his mindset. So what that means is they're going to have to claim that he's insane and he's a mental case, which of course he is. He wasn't a United Health patient. He wasn't someone that got denied care. He was a rich guy who had a back surgery and he seemed to go crazy afterwards. So, of course, he's the suspect at this point. So I won't say, I'm going to be legal caveats. I'm not trying to get in too much trouble. But it is noteworthy that he is probably they're going to have to plead that he was mentally insane. And in the meantime, he's being celebrated, and it is a dangerous slippery slope we're on. Bernie Sanders, senator, saying the United CEO healthcare killing exposed people's anger at the health insurance industry. Exposed people's anger at a health insurance industry. So he's legitimizing it. It is the John Nolte is doing a piece for us at Breitbart News where he's writing how it's not okay to murder journalists. And what he's going to do in this piece is he's going to share that just because you hate the establishment media, just because you hate the fake news, just because they're all liars and cheaters, just because they try to rig elections, just because they try to disenfranchise you and take your right to vote, just because they frame you as Nazis, making your life more, the potential for violence in your life higher. It doesn't mean you should murder journalists. And you can bet the shoe you could put on the other foot, as I discussed on last week's show. When they were trying to act like Breitbart was some sort of a Nazi site, then I had to fear for my safety to some degree. I'm not overly paranoid, so it wasn't too bad. But it's very uncomfortable when people come up to you and say you ruined my life for some reason because you reported something. We can't do this thing where we normalize vigilante justice because we don't like a particular industry in our culture. I can't believe we have to say this stuff. And yet, with the increasing radicalization online, that you're seeing that now DJ is using this guy as a sex symbol because he murdered a guy in the healthcare industry. So, very sick stuff. The left harbors these violent tendencies, and we'll see what this school was behind the school shooter. But it is not a shock to me, given our past reporting on it at Breitbart News, and in particular, the stuff that I've done. All right. Another big story that's breaking that I won't give too much commentary on, but I would encourage you to go to Breitbart.com for the latest. Reports Justin Trudeau considering resigning. Another major ally resigned. Canada's pretty much in disarray right now. Huge inflation, a lot of illegal immigration causing problems, increased violence up there, oddly enough. So we're keeping an eye on that. There's a prime minister in waiting, this guy, Pierre Poilievre, who's very charismatic, mid-40s, conservative guy. So we got to get on with it. With the great state of Canada, our 51st and 52nd states in waiting. We got to make it happen, guys. Got to make it happen. So anyway, more on that too. Biggest story going. Everyone's curious about it. The drones, the UFOs. They're literally UFOs. It is UFOs. Even though I think they're calling it unidentified aerial vehicles, UAVs, something like that. I don't know. They got a new name for it. But Donald Trump was asked about this in a big press conference this morning as we're recording the show. And he said Joe Biden knows what's happening, but the feds want to keep people in suspense. I completely agree with this. You guys know the theme on the show, the last few shows, has been how Biden is making the world more chaotic. And he didn't just wander off in the Amazon and retire from the presidency. He does record level of clemencies, commutations, pardons, all that. Keeping the border open, trying to sell off parts of the border wall. Obviously allowing Ukraine to escalate the war with Russia. Middle East is getting more chaotic. They're trying to spend as quickly as humanly possible, all that appropriated money that hasn't been spent yet, trying to get all that out the door, trying to make permanent a lot of elements of his agenda that the voters just voted out. So Biden is a chaos agent right now. And this is just the latest example of it. Do any of you think the government doesn't know what's going on? Donald Trump said so. The government knows what's happening, but the feds want to keep us in suspense. Now, I did a bit of digging before the show because I want to make sure you get an efficient update on what we know and what we don't know as a time that we're recording. We've seen these drones pop up mostly in the Northeast. The military says it's not the military, but that's sort of a technicality because it could be a three-letter agency, right? So just because it's the military doesn't mean it's not the FBI, CIA, et cetera. So it's kind of a weird answer. Could this be a bunch of people joking around? No, probably not, because these are very big drones. As far as what we can tell, these things are the size of a dining room table, the size of a car, perhaps. These things are pretty big, and they're very weird, and they don't seem like anything that you're just going to be able to, buy on Amazon. We got a drone footage. I want to play a little bit of this. This is from local news. Just give you a flavor of what we're looking at with these drones.
And Bill and Sandra, when things like this are happening, it seems everyone starts to look up, like my crew and I have been here in Mendham recording this video that you're looking at right now. We have no idea what it is, if it's a natural phenomenon, because it could be, but this is why so many municipalities are now asking people to reach out and send their videos to them or to experts who might be able to sort out.
Yeah, this thing is very strange.
This
is really sci-fi, and it looks like the sort of stuff that the nebulae that my Master Marlow Jr. like on projected onto their ceiling while they're sleeping. It's kind of what this looks like. Very futuristic sci-fi. Does not look like the sort of thing you're just gonna get on Amazon. So what else do we know? So could it potentially be a foreign agent? Yeah, maybe, but they're not telling us if it is. And what would that foreign agent be doing? Trying to just get surveillance? Could they potentially be seeing if they could drop a payload on a critical target? Any sort of electromagnetic forces to try to interfere with? Perhaps all that's on the table. Because remember the Chinese spy balloon situation that we discussed last week, where the Chinese spy balloon came in over the country from our Northeast. It hovered very close to a U.S. nuclear facility. We were told it was nothing for days. And then the government let it float all the way over the entirety of the country before it was finally shot down over the Chesapeake days later. Then they quickly shot down a kid's hobby balloon that was 6 pounds with a $500,000 Sidewinder missile. So that's where our government's at on that stuff. Completely incompetent, but also willing to withhold information, clearly. So what are these things? Do we know that they're foreign? Do we know that they're military? Are they a corporation that is doing some sort of R&D, but in conjunction with the U.S. military? That's another possibility. But there is very real danger here because we don't know what they're up to. And we know they're big. We know they're substantial. And we should have more clear information about what's going on. There's something up. But Alejandro Mayorkas, who has been sort of the main person out there trying to speak on the matter, will not give us details. But the people who are spotting them are credible people, pilots, veterans, etc. These things are way bigger than hobby-sized drones. And they are starting to interfere with normal operations in American life. A Coast Guard ship got tailed by a swarm of them. There's a medevac helicopter that couldn't land in an area because of these things. And they won't even tell us if they're controlled by us or foreign agents. So that's why it connects to the chaos narrative with Joe Biden, that Joe Biden's trying to keep things chaotic. He's trying to think things crazy. UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, that's what they're calling it now. So again, claiming it's not military is not adequate. There's going viral online, this guy, John Ferguson, who's a aerospace entrepreneur, who he has a theory about what it's trying to do that you guys all can go to Breitbart.com and check it out. But, there's some plausible people that are putting out theories, but they're all really scary. So it is something where a media that was actually demanded answers and held the accountability, held our government to accountability, then they would give us more than what they're giving us. They're just not giving us much. They're just not giving us much. So, Yeah, this guy, John Ferguson, is postulating that the drones might be attempting to, quote unquote, smell a gas leak or radioactive material. Doesn't sound good. I'd like more information. Donald Trump would get it to us if Donald Trump was in the picture, but he's not, unfortunately. So he responded to this at a press conference, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a second. Check this out.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from.
I'm letting him finish, but you hear the crux of it. And this is what I've been warning about, is that we all saw the footage of Trump at the Army-Navy game. He just took a bunch of questions at a press conference. I watched a lot of it this morning. He looked incredible, very poised, great answer, super sharp, not getting tripped up. He's supporting a badass cabinet. All that's happening. But Biden's still the president. And Trump is clearly not in the loop on this, or he is in the loop and has been sworn to secrecy that he can't do anything. But it's noteworthy that we can't fall asleep with a switch and act like Biden is not really the president. We did that for 4 years and it didn't go well for us. Biden got a lot done, unfortunately. And he's trying to get a lot done now. And he's very comfortable walking the beach in his quarter zip. You guys see this? He was doing it. He had his quarter zip out with Jill over the weekend. All of us are wondering what's going on with these drones. And then Biden is out there. He's going on big walks. I don't like it. So you guys are going to have to pull this down. I'm going to have to show an image of this. Him and Jill both had quarter zips on. I won't get bogged down on that. Do a lot of quarter zip talk on the show. It's becoming a real thing. All right, where's my Trump video? Let's play more Trump.
Came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And they should, because the people are really, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
Yeah, very interesting. So he doesn't want to go to his New Jersey outpost, which he likes to do when he can. They got a great golf course there that he likes to be there. And he said he was going to go. He's not going to go now because of these. But then he also was tweeting memes of Chris Christie eating McDonald's that was droned into him. So I saw the views in this thing. It was like 1 billion views online of this. But Chris Christie getting a bunch of drones delivering at McDonald's. So I don't know how seriously Trump's taking it, but he's correct to identify that we're being lied to in a major way. One group that lies to us quite a bit are, look at this. Two arrested for flying drones dangerously close to Boston's Logan Airport. There you go. All right. People lie to us all the time as CNN, and they have either completely fabricated or got duped by a quote unquote Syrian prisoner who appears to have actually been a man who worked for Bashar al-Assad as a torturer, essentially. Clarissa Ward, who is one of these characters on CNN who I've always been very suspicious about. And I want to play, I've got some footage of this. I'm going to play some of the footage of her initial report. It should be familiar to those of you. You're going to miss out a little bit if you're not on YouTube or Rumble watching the stream. But let me play this.
After 3 months in a windowless cell, he can finally see the sky. My God, the light, he says. Oh God, there is light. My God, there is light. Stay with me.
The footage is so dramatic. He's staring up in the sky. He looks so relieved. She's looking very serious and intense. This woman's always been very off-putting to me. I've sort of, till this point, chalked it up to that she just must have that brain that's wired to be very brave. She does tend to put herself into war zones. She loves to get on camera when she's there, but I mean, I'm not going to war zones. And, these people, they studied it. Do you guys ever see the documentary Free Solo about the guy who climbs that flat face of Yellowstone, where it feels like, and he does it without any, he's a mountain climber without any climbing gear. This is El Capitan is what it's called. The rock face, no ropes, no harnesses. And then they x-rayed his brain, or they did a MRI, whatever it is. And he's parts of his fear sensors of his brain that just don't light up. So that's how you can just climb a giant face of a mountain without fear. I always thought that maybe she's got one of those wirings, but maybe there's something weirder going on here, because she's got children. So she goes in these war zones, and she apparently doesn't fear that she's going to get killed. And then she just makes this stuff up, and you just wonder, is this person a total sociopath? So this guy was a notorious torturer, apparently, for Assad. And they treat him like he's some sort of a hero, getting him out. And then she's to humiliate all of her colleagues with her. Here's a clip of CNN. There are many like this, but I chose this one, and you'll know why when you recognize the voice.
Another just absolutely remarkable report. CNN's Clarissa Ward in Damascus doing vital journalism. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
That's the sanctimonious Jake Tapper, who is so full of BS, it is coming out of his ears and out of his pompadour haircut. And no, it's a fake report. There's nothing, it's not real. It's propaganda. It's propaganda. So pretty glorious. So she's done, right? I mean, can you recuperate from that? Or is that a career ender, or do people not care? They're claiming that they got tricked by an intelligence agent, apparently. But I don't know. Did you give CNN the benefit of the doubt on that? Maybe they just went along with it so they could look cool. So that's a big loss for them, because that gives them a lot of their credibility, is that they have these international bureaus that I can't afford that stuff. I mean, the amount of insurance that it must cost to have a reporter like Clarissa Ward, crazy. So it's a big advantage CNN has. So if they blow this thing, they could end up like ABC News, which had to settle a defamation lawsuit with President Trump. They're paying $15 million and they're going to apologize. George Stephanopoulos, who Trump calls George Slopadopoulos, which I enjoy. And ABC News agreed to settle defamation suit with President-elect Trump. $15 million attorney's fees, and they're going to have to issue a public apology. It's great news. We love to see ABC squirm. I was thinking about what's really going on here, and my first idea is they want to avoid discovery. They don't want to have a big, long suit, because if they got into discovery and they looked at their email correspondence, it's going to look even worse for the network. And with Trump coming into power, then who knows what sort of repercussions were going to happen. So that's lamentable. It's one of these things where it's a short-term win, but I would have rather seen a protracted legal engagement with ABC. That would have been good. But I guess another victory for Trump, ABC settling with Trump for smearing Trump. I mean, does it ever go the other way with the establishment media? Did they ever smear any of the bad guys, or is it just Trump always, right? Another not so great development that's fun today, but I think is not great overall. Slopadopoulos is now leaving the X platform. A couple of my favorite lefties, Brian Krasenstein and Ed Krasenstein, these two real weirdo brothers who have been creating just mountains of Twitter X content for us over the years at Breitbart. They've announced they're leaving the platform at the end of the year. Mashable, which is a big tech platform or big tech website, has a story out from this morning that X has a declining user base and the platform projected to lose millions of users in 2025. I don't like this. I don't like this as a people. I don't like this as someone who gets content from the X platform and got probably, I would guess, billions of page views at Breitbart over the years from stories with X content in it, I would say. I'd say that's pretty clear. We've had billions of page views from X. And that's a lot. And I don't like that the left is leaving. It's going to make it a lot less interesting. And I always thought of it as this cheat sheet. the Twitter platform, where you could figure out where the left was at, what they were thinking about, what was getting them worked up. And it's fun that it's more free there and that there are right-wingers having a great time, and it's a big party every day for right-wing media. And the right-wing cool kids get to hang out and have inside jokes. That's fine. We deserve that as a movement. But we're going to miss a lot if we start losing all of our favorite lefties, and that's what's happening. We're losing them all. Makes me sad. The Krasensteins, that's a big loss with these guys. These guys were content bonanza for us. And so what are they going to do? They're going to go over to Blue Sky or stay on TikTok, and that's fine. It's we'll be able to get them there. They'll be very comfortable there. We'll be able to get a lot of content from them there. But it was very nice to just be able to open up that Twitter app or the X app and then get a window into what they're thinking about. Now I don't have to go to make a bunch of stops, a bunch of other places. And the interaction amongst people with different worldviews is something this country benefits from. So we do better when we are able to talk amongst ourselves. I would like to get to a place where we could unify and disagree cordially again. I don't know if that was ever going to happen on the X platform, but this is balkanizing and tribalizing is not making it better. So that's sad. Look, I think Musk is making a good faith effort to make the platform good. I really do. I'm not faulting him on that. But the reality of the libs taking their balls and go home is it's very bittersweet to me, and a little more bitter than sweet. It's fun. You laugh at it when it first comes out. But there's a lot to track there. We're going to have our TikTok, we're going to have our Blue Sky. There's one Blue Sky creator who we've highlighted at Breitbart News, is a guy named Jesse Singal maybe. But a lot of people are calling on him to get banned from Blue Sky, which is a left-wing platform, because he hasn't drank the Kool-Aid on the trans. So he's not in all the trans narratives that the left pushes. So they want him out because they need to censor, they need to ban, they need to block, they need a purity test. That's how they operate. So there'll be plenty of content. I don't want to be too discouraging, but I need my content. Look, let me check in. I got some set aside. I want to bring you some every day pretty much. Some left-wing Twitter libs. Let's see what they're up to. Or this is TikTok libs, I think.
Yeah, I just watched a video. I'm not going to stitch or tag this girl because I don't want to get her shit taken down. But she literally told the CEOs on site. On site. Y'all know what that means. But let's take it a step further. Not just CEOs. How about news anchors?
Wow.
Billionaires, millionaires, pearl clutchers, bootlickers.
People are nuts. Scary people. That's what's happening on left-wing TikTok. Those of you who couldn't see, this is a smiling woman with silver hair. I feel like she dyed it silver. I don't think it's her natural hair color. It's kind of an odd thing. Don't people want to not have as much silver? Anyway, she is saying just to shoot CEOs on site, shoot news anchors on site, billionaires, millionaires, bootlickers, sick, twisted people. And this is what goes on some of these apps. So, but I would rather have it be out in the open so we can see it, so we can see what's going on. Man. All right, let's see here. All right, back to some good news. SoftBank pledges $100 billion of U.S. investments in a show of confidence for Donald Trump. Big news. SoftBank Group, which is a Japanese investment powerhouse, wants to sink $100 billion in the U.S. because of Trump, because of the optimism, because of Trump. Love that, right? That's a great thing. Trump is going to make America great again. He's going to open up. There's so much low-hanging fruit for him to make America the place for business, to make America the place for investment, for growth. There's so much deregulation that can be done, so much red tape cutting, tapping of the energy sectors, making sure we know who's coming in and out of the country. All of this is going to lead to just automatic growth and being a place where it is a good place to do business. The best place to do business is going to be a top priority for him. And I'm not into all the major corporations and stuff, and I always get scary when the corporate guys get too close to Trump, and that will happen. I know it's going to happen, and we're going to have to deal with it. Well, I'll break it down on the show when I get concerned. But I love this idea that foreign investment is looking at America and saying, Trump has announced that if you invest $1 billion, he's going to fast track approval of everything that needs to get done. It's exactly the right approach. This country penalizes people for being successful too much. There's a lot of red tape to start businesses, a lot of legal fees that go into stuff, a lot of permitting depending on where you live, a lot of compliance you got to do, and all this discourages people. And then you make some money, and then the more you make, the higher your tax rate gets. So I feel like we have a culture that's a little bit broken here. And if Trump could reset us to where we encourage people. Did you guys catch that clip of Tim Walz over the weekend? I talked about this on Lori Ingram's show, which is up at Breitbart News on Friday. I'm supposed to be on tonight, by the way. So you just start setting your DVRs for Ingram because it looks like we're doing this thing regularly. But Tim Walz was shocked that he lost to a billionaire because the left still lives in this class warfare mindset. They didn't get the memo that we don't care if you're rich or poor. We care if you're a patriotic American, if you're a good person, if you've got those America First values. We don't really care how much money you made. We want authenticity. That's the thing we want the most. So we all admire people traditionally in this country who've achieved. And it's a fairly recent phenomenon where the left has tried to coach us up so that we dislike people because they've had success. It's not really in our nature. We kind of like winners as a society. And we've been taught, no, you can't like winners. You got to like losers. You got to like victims. You got to aggrandize the victims. Trump doesn't have a iota of his body that is that comports with that worldview. He just doesn't. He wants to be a winner. He wants to surround himself with winners. And this is to be encouraged. Very exciting. Couldn't be more excited about this. Even Mitt Romney has to admit that Trump is off to a good start. This was a shocking clip that I had to bring to your attention. Let's check this out.
Donald Trump won. He won overwhelmingly. He said what he was going to do, and that's what he's doing. I mean, people are saying, oh, I don't like this appointment or this policy that he's talking about. But those are the things he said he was going to do when he ran. So you can't complain about someone who does what he said he was going to do. And I agree with him on a lot of policy fronts. I disagree with him on some things. But it's like, okay, give him a chance to do what he said he's going to do and see how it works out.
You love to see it. You love to see it. It's exactly right. One other thing that Trump did during this press conference is that he announced that he wants to have some sort of an investigation into Ann Seltzer. Ann Seltzer was the pollster from Iowa who had Kamala Harris winning the election in Iowa by 3 or 4 points. And he's announced he wants a lawsuit against Ann Seltzer for rigging her Iowa poll to influence the election. Of course he should do this. It absolutely was election interference. This was an insurrection. Ann Seltzer had an insurrection against Donald Trump. Donald Trump won that state by over 13%. So she was 16, 17% off in her polls. She's a very good pollster. How could she miss by that much? She couldn't. It had to have been intentional. Or at least it was close enough, was suspicious enough where someone's got to investigate it to learn for sure. So Trump needs to be highly aggressive for people who try to interfere with our democracy. Our democracy is under attack from Ann Seltzer. She attacked our democracy with that bogus poll, and we need to understand how things got the way it got. Maybe the air will get cleared. But our democracy is a precious thing, and we cannot trust it to the Ann Seltzers who are willing to miss polls by 16 or 17% to cause some sort of a frenzy of momentum for Kamala Harris. Harris surfaced over the weekend. I got a clip of her. Let's see what she was up to, giving a scintillating speech.
So look, the holiday season is one of my favorite times of year, that and my birthday. And our wedding anniversary, of course.
Oh, she is so fun. Is she always having such a great time? I mean, she's got this Dr. Hibbert thing going from The Simpsons where she's just chuckling and giggling all the time. She loves the holiday. She loves her birthday. Man, she's just like us.
In this hole deeper and deeper.
She's good.
But it's a time of gratitude and a time of celebration. And so it's so important this holiday season to remember we all have so much to celebrate. We have a country we love. We have ideals that we're very clear about in terms of their importance and the importance of us fighting for those ideals. And we have each other. And our work is about being intentional, about building community.
Yeah, my subject tonight for Laura is supposed to be on the prospect of Kamala becoming my governor out in California. So we'll see. They always change the topic on you, but I'm excited to talk about it. It's she's a terrible politician. We don't like her. It's very much like California, at least the Democrat establishment, to try to force her on us if the whole country rejected her. But you guys know where I'm going with this, right? Is that how could it be such a great Christmas season? How could we be so grateful with the Nazis coming into power? The type of people that would throw a rally at Madison Square Garden, the type of people who would joke that Puerto Rico is an island of garbage. They're now about to be in charge of the country. So the swamp drainers. Robert Kennedy, concerned about why we're all so obese. Can you believe what a threat that could be? Very odd. They just turned the page so quickly. They didn't do it in 2016. They acted like we were the basket of deplorables. And then when we won, then they did the pink hat marches. They did the women's marches. They didn't believe it, but they at least acted like all their rights were going to go away because Trump won. So they got very intense and focused. Now they're just acting like goofballs. I'm concerned about it. I hope people get the word out. We got to get the word out. All right. Yeah, we're still reeling from Biden-Harris policies. Illegal alien accused of raping Florida woman at gunpoint at her home. This is from John Binder at Breitbart News. Martin County, Florida. Jorge Gregorio Flores Villa, 31-year-old illegal alien from Mexico, arrested last week, charged with sexual assault, burglary, and assault. Driving without a license, a bunch of other stuff. So no illegal alien crime should ever occur. We should have zero. That should be the standard. No illegal alien criminals in this country. Biden-Harris's parole pipeline. This is what I've been warning about. DHS released illegal alien accused of murder into the U.S. John Binder again for us. This is someone wanted for murder in Brazil. Gora Torifal, a 34-year-old Senegal national, first crossed the U.S.-Mexico border at Eagle Pass, Texas in 2021. He was arrested by border agents, taken into custody. He got a notice to appear in court before a federal immigration judge. And he was released into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in May of this year. ICE agents learned the Fall had been wanted for murder in Brazil. Went through the system, still got released into Philadelphia. Philadelphia's got enough crime from Americans, so we're going to import more criminals. Trende Aragua crime expands to North Dakota. Cops beg Biden administration for help. No kidding. It's not going to stop until Trump gets in there and starts laying down the law. I will say I don't root for people to have their homes burglarized, but it was interesting to see Sophia Bush, who's one of the most irritating left-wing Hollywood types, had her home burglarized in L.A. Christmas gifts were stolen. Now, you never root for someone like this. Maybe she's a nice person, but she's one of the most hysterical anti-Trump, anti-conservative radicals in Hollywood. L.A. has become a haven for criminals under George Gascon, the outgoing DA, and it does not stop for celebrities. In fact, they target celebrities because they know they got money. All right, our friend Alex Bruzewitz fainted during a speech at the New York Young Republicans Gala over the weekend. Crazy video online. People are telling me he's okay. I texted him. I've not heard back. So I'll keep you posted. I had an amazing interview with Alex, who is the genius behind Trump's podcast strategy from last week. I encourage you, if you haven't checked out that episode, please look back. It's just a few: YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, of course. So, but he is a real star in this movement, and I hope he's okay. And I'll give you a bigger update when I can. All right, more amusing news. Disney's woke Snow White trailer nears 1.4 million downvotes. That's fun. We talked about this quite a bit last week on the show. I broke down the ridiculous preview. See, this is where people put the show numbers. I would love to tell you what show that was in, because that was a blast when we did that. With the insufferable Rachel Zegler, who no one likes, weird-looking, alien-like. She looks like an extraterrestrial. Super mean, hopes Trump voters suffer and never know peace. Thinks Snow White should be more of a girl boss and looks down on Snow White for just wanting to fall in love with the prince. the least likable star that Disney's ever forced on us, and people are just dying to trash the Snow White movie. So that's fun. We can be fun as a people. Donald Trump's looking into privatizing the U.S. Postal Service. It was funny, at Breitbart.com today, I was looking at what are our most popular stories right before I started recording. And our two most popular stories were about the Postal Service. One that Trump wants to privatize it, and the next most popular was the Postal Service's EV mail truck rollout is massively behind schedule. That's kind of fun. So we had a greenification of the post office, obviously a government boondoggle. That money never gets spent efficiently. The green cars have largely been overrated. At the most charitable view of green cars is they've been overrated to this point. Most people don't want them. They don't go very far. They're take forever to charge. They're very expensive to get the batteries. Their resale value is terrible. So we've been trying to greenify the post office, and that's apparently going bad. And Trump's talking about privatizing it. Cool. All right. Why not? Why not? Price of stamps could go up, though. It will go up. In fact, I can guarantee it. Price of stamp definitely going to go up if Trump privatizes it. But he's got a lot of cool ideas. He's got a cool idea. He wants to change daylight savings time too. Missy, I got to talk about this tomorrow because I don't want to go any longer on this front. I got to talk about daylight savings because Trump's got some thoughts on this. I don't know if I agree with him. And I'll tease that for tomorrow's show. All right. I got a lot of feedback. Aloha at alexmarlow.com if you want to correspond with me. You guys have been you've been leaving really lovely reviews on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. It really means a lot. I was showing some to my wife over the weekend. Made me look good. So thanks for doing that. Any way you want to engage with the content, I appreciate. I got a lot of nice email over the weekend. Sharing the content, telling 10,000 friends and family members, commenting on YouTube, subscribing, Spotify, all that stuff. Just getting it as part of your daily routine is the goal. And then 10,000 people like you. That's what we're up to here. All right, let's see here. We've got some email. Why don't we go to Kenny Brightstein Spring, Texas. Apparently of the West San Fernando Valley, near where I am. I had a former life. All right. Alex, like the listener whose email you recently read, I too, after wandering aimlessly from podcast to podcast since Rush left us, am so thrilled to drop anchor on your show. That is very, very kind. You really spoiled us the first few weeks by running through each podcast without any ads, but we get it, and thanks for keeping it to a minimum. Keep up the great work, Kenny. I really appreciate all of you who like me so much that you can't handle some ads. No, it's a reality of life that we're going to have to do some ads because that's going to help the show grow. And like today's show, we have no ads, though I do want to mention that you can enter to win a trip to Washington, D.C. for the 2025 inauguration of Donald Trump. Trip includes airfare for 2, hotel accommodations for 3 nights, tickets to the inauguration, and much more. If you go to SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump, I just don't know why you wouldn't do this. Just try to win. The inauguration is the marquee event on the social calendar in the United States. It comes up every 4 years, and only half the time our guy doesn't win. So it's one of these things where if you can go, you should go. So everyone should go to SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump and sign up for that. But yeah, we're going to have to do some ads, but there won't be a lot. I've seen what the maximum number of ads are. It's kind of like, I think it's like 3 during the show and 1 before and 1 after. And that's if we sell out all my inventory, which I hope to do soon. But that's going to help me. I was thinking about how, I want to go to Melania. Okay. So I got a relationship with Melania's right-hand guy. And she loves Breitbart. We love Melania. But I don't want to just Zoom with Melania. I want to go fly out to Melania, get some cameras. You think that stuff's free? No, it's not free. So that's why we're going to have to do some ads so that I can do cool stuff and maybe make Christmas a little nicer for Master Marlow Jr., et cetera. But it's the top priorities. I want to grow the show, and we're going to need to have some ads to grow the show. That's it. Okay, but thank you for saying that. Shifting from Rush to me that's the ultimate compliment. There's no better compliment. I won't say I deserve it or not, but I will say that it is as good as it gets. All right. Made this mistake before. I did not deleted this emailer's name, but hey, Alex, it would be great if you could get Michael Savage as a guest on the podcast. I know you've been on his show, but it would be great to get him on as a guest on your show. Cheers, brother. Dr. Savage is absolutely welcome. I love Dr. Savage. So a longtime Dr. Savage listener. I think he's one of the virtuoso talkers of our time and has deep insight into a million topics. And I would love to have him on. Great idea. Joanne at Charlotte, North Carolina. Hi, Alex. What's worse, the quarter zip or the finance bro tech fest? I can't decide. I love this comment. So much quarter zip talk going on the show. People are understanding it's not a great look. I will be honest, let you in on the inside joke. It's not the worst look. It's just not a great look, and it's now ubiquitous. And I was thinking about this when I saw this video of all these guys at a business meeting, and a lot of them had the tech bro vest on, where you've got this, maybe you got a dress shirt, maybe you got a tie on even, and then you wear just the generic Patagonia vest that just doesn't look great. Like, I just don't get that look. I don't understand it. I was scrolling through looking for stories to talk on the show today, and I stumbled across some business TV, and this CEO, this massive hedge fund, just doing the tech bro vest on TV. It's just terrible. Like, do we think about stuff before we put it on? This gets me fired up, guys. We just got to think about our look. We got to be that city on a hill, and you're not going to be a city on a hill in a quarter zip. Jill Biden, Joe Biden, at the same time, both had the quarter zip on this weekend. It's all you need to know. All right. Brandon X. Poterjoy where's he from? DO? What's DO? Oh, no, he's a DO. He's a doctor. So that's it. He's got a doctor of osteopathy. Is that right? Is that how you pronounce it? Getting more common these days. Anyway, dear Alex, I just finished Friday's show. The daily shows are fantastic, and I appreciate that you're back on the airwaves, having been in medicine for over 20 years and doing the double board plan. For me, it's pediatrics and neonatal perinatal medicine. The journey is long and arduous, but is completely worth the hours upon hours of effort at the hospital office, as well as the work that comes home. I wish your wife a hearty congratulations and all the best from what will hopefully be a successful and happy career. Thank you. I appreciate it. I mentioned on Friday's show that Mrs. Dr. Marlow passed her second board. So she's got the internal medicine now. She's got the oncology. And I think we're going to go for hematology next year, which will be a sacrifice. You got to make sure you don't have any books or anything going on then. So this will get to step up your dad duty when that's going on. But yeah, I did congratulate Mrs. Dr. Marlow on the air. I went to her Christmas party yesterday, and her patients are rating her nearly 100%. She's the most popular doctor in her practice, I was told. So I think she could be a Surgeon General one day. I got to draft her for it, but I'm starting to plant the seed. Let's start building up to it. Surgeon General, Mrs. Dr. Marlow. I would love to see it. So, but thank you for the congratulations. And we love our doctors. There's something in our culture, and I'll talk more about this, where we love nurses, but we don't love doctors now. And I don't get it. We can love nurses and we can love doctors. So you put in all this work, you put in all this effort, and then patients come in and then just, they're just very skeptical, like you're a salesman. That's how we talk about doctors now. And I know that it's a lot of my colleagues in conservative media are part of this, that we just walk in and we're just very skeptical of people who spend their whole lives studying science. So we should be skeptical of some of them. Public health is terrible. Pharmaceutical salespeople are terrible. I get it. Fine. But we got to rein in a little bit of the negativity about the doctors. It's sounding a little nutty. Just saying. Just some corners of the internet. I think that's going to be today's show. Aloha at alexmarlow.com. Tell 10,000 friends and family members about us. Thank you to producer Misty. I have a great interview with Colin Medine at Breitbart Fight Club today in the Breitbart Confidential Show, talking about all we need to know about the drones. More detail than I got into today. So deep dive on that conversation. So go to the Breitbart Fight Club, subscribe, just a few bucks, and you get more of me, more Breitbart. It is really good. It's really good. Ad-free experience when you're reading Breitbart.com. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to plug. We'll be back tomorrow with an amazing show. I'm interviewing Laura Trump. I don't know when I'm going to release it. Might be tomorrow, but we're going to record with her tomorrow. And then maybe I'll do some news and do the Laura show different day. I don't know, but you're going to have to wait in suspense. Talk daylight savings. So much to come. We are in the Christmas spirit here on the Alex Marlow Show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.